Election day is just around the corner, which begs the political question, do you trust a candidate who doesn't drink beer?
I'm about to drink a Belgian triple. Should I use this glass or this glass?
Do you like wings with your beer? We found the perfect spot.
He's Joe Sixpack, I'm Glen Macnow, and this is What's Brewing.
What's Brewing? Brought to you in part by Monco Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism Board. Download the app. Partial funding provided through a grant from the Pennsylvania Malt and Beverage Industry Board.
Hi, welcome to What's Brewing. He's Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow. Thrilled that you're joining us. And remember, you can always find us on social media. We love your feedback at What's Brewing PA on Twitter, What's Brewing on Facebook. And today, we're at Round Guys Brewing Company in Lansdale. They've been open for 6 years, one of 30 breweries in Montgomery County as the business continues to grow. And Joe, as we do the show today, it's a brisk, kind of chilly day.
It did turn cold.
And it's kind of the time of year where you start changing your, like what you're looking at for a beer. And so for the beer swap today, we decided.
Well, it's stout season.
Yeah.
It's time to start drinking darker beers, something a little bit heavier, a little bit darker, more warming. So, what'd you bring me?
So here's what I brought you. Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. Come on, you gotta love this. From Voodoo Brewing in Lancaster. It's an Imperial Stout. I think you're gonna like it. I tried it the other day, liked it. Look at this color on this baby. This is not your summer beer anymore.
No, it looks beautiful. It's
Yeah.
a Imperial Stout, Russian Imperial Stout. Are they Lancaster County though?
It is in Lancaster, so they age it in conditioning casks with oak staves and like an old world character. 12% is this baby, so this is not in any way a session beer. What do you think?
It's got that beautiful coffee taste in it is what I get right away, with layers of chocolate. But you know, this really does truly taste like the kind of Imperial Stout that you might have drank way back in when it was first made back in the 1700s by the Brits for the Russian Imperial Court.
Right, and I love this, and they say this is one that you can really age for a while. You can keep it for a long time. Most beers we get, you want to drink them fresh. Stouts, let's talk about aging a little bit. What's different with one of these?
High alcohol is your friend when it comes to aging beer.
High alcohol is my friend right now.
Just like with wine, you can age wine or cellar wine. It's, wine. This is wine strength here. We're talking 12% alcohol. So certainly that helps out a lot with the aging. I also find that that the flavors tend to come together a little bit. Some of the hops tend to tone back when you age a beer. So, a stout is a classic beer.
What'd you bring me today?
Okay, this is on the other end of the spectrum. Let me grab your opener there, Glenn. This is Lancaster Milk Stout. There we go. This is there's no real milk in here. No cows were milked for this. At least I'm not sure of that if they have. But they
Imagine
They make this beer with lactose sugar, which is a sugar that does not ferment like regular sugar does, and as a result, it tends to add some sweetness to it, and typically there's a good bit of smooth body here as well. Lancaster, I think, is one of the original milk stout brewers. They've been doing this for a long time, and it's an old British style of beer that was originally made as a restorative. You might have they used to prescribe this for mothers who were nursing their babies. And
really?
Yes,
there
exactly. So we're drinking the good health.
There you go. It's nice. It's obviously a little thinner. It's a little lighter than this one. To me, this is kind of like an end of the night beer, right? 11 p.m. I'll have one more, and this is what I'll have. Answer me this, because I've never quite understood the difference between stouts and porters. I drink them interchangeably.
Well, a stout is really a porter in many ways. It gets its name because it was a stout porter, a strong porter. Guinness is the one that popularized that term, I think, but it's been around for a long time. So you might say that a stout is stronger than a porter, except these days that's not the case. Brewers tend to cross the style up a little bit. You'll find a very strong porter out there, or a rather mild stout at times.
All right, we have some other ones that
brought a
we
couple other
came
ones
across.
here.
What do you like?
Well, this is Rise and Grind from Manayunk Brewing.
Oh yeah.
A coffee stout. They added actual coffee to the beer, and I think there might be some chocolate in there as well. Nice looking beer.
This one has brewed with chocolate, cinnamon, vanilla, and cayenne.
All right.
So this is a
All right.
party in a big
Yeah,
bottle.
that's not too bad. Here's another coffee stout from Vault up in Bucks County. They're making a lot of stuff, and I love their labels. They're so basic and clean looking. So, and then finally, and this is one I have not tried yet, so we just picked it up from York, PA, Liquid Hero Brewing, and this is their Adams Stout. It's a vanilla bean stout.
Very nice.
And finally, one last one. They just slipped me here at Round Guys.
Oh, there you go.
Their foreign export stout, which is a British style of beer that would have been, or rather Irish, I guess, really, from the Guinness, and a little stronger for export.
Well, you got the bigger glass,
Yes,
but
sir.
here's to you. We'll be discussing glasses later. All right, real quickly, we've been doing our Field of 16 Pennsylvania IPAs. The voting has been good. People can still do it. Again, find us on social media. We're still some voting in the first round. As we narrow it down, what do you got today? Some results.
We're going to do 2 rounds here today in this episode. Let's take a look at the Western Pennsylvania sector, where we had Penn IPA up against Full Pint Chinook. Great name for a beer, but unfortunately Full Pint did not measure up to the Penn IPA.
All right.
Fantastic beer. Actually, a surprise winner too, because Penn IPA is much better known for their lagers, German style beer, so they win on that category. And Glenn, I'm afraid in our Philly Burbs division, I have a little bad news for you. This is my own doing, though, I have to admit. I put Concha Type A, Concha Hoppen Brewing
it's a good
Type
one.
A. Great beer, up against maybe one of the toughest beers in the whole tournament, which is Victory Dirt Wolf, and Victory Dirt Wolf.
You gave us a tough seed. That's
I
all
did,
right.
I did.
We lose with honor. Congratulations to Victory. We'll be doing this every week until we find the best IPA in Pennsylvania. Coming up, Election Day is right around the corner. We're going to discuss the weird marriage of politics and beer next on What's Brewing. Welcome back to What's Brewing with Joe Sixpack. I'm Glenn Macnow. We're at Round Guys Brewing in Lansdale, where I am eating a bacon-wrapped cheddar pretzel because, I mean, why not? This is what we do. Joe Sixpack, what the hell are you wearing, my boy? What
do you think of these babies? I just returned from Germany with these.
Yeah, you had a great cruise,
I
right?
did. Took about 40 people there, and we were all through Bavaria. And I picked up these nice suspenders. They call them Hosentrager in German.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Hold my beer when I go to festivals.
Hold my beer.
It's a pretty cool idea, isn't
Very
it?
cool. You don't even, you have your hands are free. And
Exactly.
you got
And
the beer against your belly. Well, there you
They're
go.
very stylish, too. Mrs. Sixpack loves these.
Oh, I'm sure she
Because
does.
Well, it's because she doesn't have to hold my beer when I run off to
There
the
you go. That's a
bathrooms.
nice look. All right, there you go. Crazy beer products. Election Day is around the corner. The good news is that bars are now open in PA and brew pubs and so on Election Day, because until fairly recently they weren't. What's the story? You grew up around here.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that at one time that I think it was in 2001 is when they changed the law. Before that, you could not the bars could not be open on election day. And it goes back to the pretty obvious idea that people were buying votes with beer. And
well, they were.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
because you certainly wouldn't want to get drunk and then go vote. I think that's the idea.
These days, I think I would like to do that, but you're right in that politicians would, in fact, buy votes with beer. And it goes back to George Washington, the father of our country. Let me read you this. When he ran for office, this was 1758, so before president, I don't know what he was running for, some local office, he rolled out the booze, 28 gallons of rum, 50 gallons of rum punch, 34 gallons of wine, and 46 gallons of beer, and 2 gallons of cider, nearly enough for a half gallon per voter that day.
If it's good enough for George Washington.
Right, we should be proud of that. Now, liquor sales are allowed in every state now on election day. South Carolina was the last to come into it in 2016. But you're also correct in that guys have been caught using it. There was a Arkansas state rep named Hudson Hallam who was sentenced to a year of home detention, 3 years of probation for trading chicken dinners and vodka for absentee voters.
Wow, wow. Well, that makes sense. I mean, people will do anything for a free beer, I guess. The idea, though, I think a lot of it had to do with the rowdy saloons. A lot of violence would come out of saloons on election day because of high.
A lot of violence comes out of everything on election day these days.
True.
It's not. It's a nasty sport. But I don't know about you. I tend to like my candidates who drink beer. I know the current president does not. His brother was an alcoholic. I get that. Right. I mean, that's, whatever. I'm not going to have an issue with that. But we have some pictures that you're going to see up on the screen of previous presidents drinking beer. President Reagan was a fan of, was a good man, a good beer man. President Bush the first, President Bush the second, of course.
Actually, not the second. The second was a teetotaler.
Well, we do have a picture of him drinking beer.
I've heard about that picture, and
What?
I believe that is a non-alcoholic beer that he hoisted. I think it was on a trip to Germany.
Oh, well, how about that? And of course, President Obama had the beer summit. Now, in Pennsylvania this year, there's a couple of big statewide elections. So I'm going to show you. This is Governor Casey running for re-election, visited a brewery locally.
Governor,
that's Senator Casey. Excuse me.
So he actually visited a brewery.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Because they're small businesses, he's pro-business. Good idea.
This is his Republican opponent, Lou Barletta. He visited a distributorship.
Whoa.
I don't know where it is, but
He
the
went the
man
next
is
mile.
surrounded by beer. You see that, right? So the governor, Tom Wolf, this is him with a six-pack of Yingling because, it's Pennsylvania.
Well, he's taking a lot of credit, and rightly so, for easing up the six-pack rules in this state. He had that whole Free the Six-Pack campaign in which you could finally buy a six-pack of beer in a distributor.
I really tried to find every candidate with beer. I could not find Scott Wagner, who is running for governor, with beer, but I did find a picture of him holding a goose.
A goose.
So
right.
I'm guessing he thought it was Goose Island.
Perhaps.
That's the best I can do with that. And in case you were curious, Franklin Pierce earned the nod as the drunkest president in American history.
Really?
Yeah, according to the writer of this book, Pierce drank a lot of everything and once said after leaving office, "What can an ex-president of the United States do except get drunk?" So there you go.
All right.
As we said, Election Day is coming up. Make sure you vote. Make sure you drink beer. I don't know. Should you do one before the other?
Well, I guess it depends on really how you look at politics these days. But personally, I think you should probably vote sober and then either drink to celebrate or drink to commiserate.
Drink to commiserate. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Anyway, coming up, we're going to talk about the perfect glassware to put your perfect beer, probably one bigger than this. Coming up next on What's Brewing. Welcome back to What's Brewing. He's Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow. We're at Round Guys Brewing in Lansdale. Great place. One of the Montgomery County brewers. Download Monco Makers app and check out all of the great breweries around Montgomery County. Get yourself some free swag. By the way, I misidentified the location of one of our beers. I'm loving this big black Voodoo Daddy.
Loving it a little too much, I'd say.
From Voodoo Brewing in Meadville, out in the western side of the state, not in Lancaster. Anyway, I'll drink my beer in anything, but you brought a whole cavalcade of different glassware. What's going on?
Well, a couple episodes ago, we talked a little bit about the whole beer geek thing and having always that drink their beer in the right glass. And frankly, my opinion is you should drink whatever floats your boat, you know, and we all have favorite glasses. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the typical kinds of glasses. And this is the one you often see out in the beer world, a pint glass. I like this type here. This is a British style glass, and it's got this nice little bulb on here, which is a good spot not only to hold some foam, but also keeps the beer from slipping out of your hand.
That's good. That's the classic to me, right? You want the pint.
It is. Pilsner glass, you know, there's just something about this glass that brings me back. They always had these beautiful Pilsners. It's very stylish, I think. And then we had, I opened up earlier talking about the Belgian style beer here. You know, first of all, this glass is too small for me. But second of all, the Belgian glasses are designed, tulip glasses are designed to hold the foam within this area here, so you can still smell that beer, but there's a place for the foam to go as you pour the beer.
Okay.
You'll often see this style in restaurants, but
That's a tulip?
it's a tulip glass, but it's smaller. This is an actual pint glass. As you can see, this one only holds about 14 ounces.
Yeah, see, I think they do this when they're trying to, I want the pint. I want to, this is what I want. This is my idea of a beer glass.
That's a Mass from Germany.
That's a
what
nice
you
one.
Drink your beer from at Oktoberfest. So we have a wheat beer glass here. Lots of foam can fit in there, and this weird one from Sam Adams. They marketed that a little while ago. So
it's like a hybrid tulip. These are all great, and that's all fine, but you know what? When I'm drinking beer, why I go back to the 1972 Flyers Stanley, I guess it was.
It is.
So it's not 72, I guess 74. Evening Bulletin headline, Flyers win the Stanley Cup. We're #1. I'll go with this.
that's not too shabby.
All right, or this one, I'm really thirsty. What about you?
I like this one here.
Whoa.
This is it's called a yard, although this is only a half yard of beer can fit in there. Anyway, pretty cool looking glass.
That's very cool, and it's a lot of fun. But again, give me 90% of the time, I want the pint.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
agree.
people deserve. All right, now, Sierra went out on the road to a place that I know you've been to before.
Big fan of Fingers, Wings, and Other Things in the Conchi area, and let's see what she has to find.
So we've talked about some of the best foods to pair with beer, and here at Fingers, Wings, and Other Things, they've got you covered. Family-owned, Ryan Oliveri is their general manager.
Fingers, Wings, and Other Things was born in 1989 on 3rd and South in Philadelphia. Since then, we have developed more into a craft beer bar, serving the same great chicken that we always have. We find that our variety of spicy foods go great with pale ales, IPAs, really great food pairings there. We always keep some stouts, really cuts the sweetness of our barbecue wings, teriyaki wings, some of the sweeter things that we carry.
Fingers, Wings, and Other Things' easygoing food menu is the perfect match for its stellar selection of beers.
We definitely started changing how we did things a good 10 years ago. We have definitely moved away from the macro market and really have developed more of a micro beer industry here. We have 20 taps, 19 of which are dedicated to craft beer, always supporting local breweries. As you can see, we have a very competitive draft beer menu, and we keep things rotating every day.
Looking for more beer options? They encourage your suggestions.
We try and keep our bartenders and servers very interactive with our clientele, so we're always looking for suggestions. If a customer is looking for something specific, we'll definitely reach out, try and bring in different styles, different breweries, different beers. IPAs are so hot right now. What we do is we bring in some great IPAs, but we throw in some amber ales, some stouts, some porters. We keep things very different here. Customers have a very different palate and are looking for something maybe a little bit more sessionable to drink.
And what does Ryan attribute to their success?
I mean, it's amazing. It's such an easy concept. It's chicken fingers and chicken wings that really got us started. But what really sets us apart is the chicken fingers are hand-breaded, handmade, to order. Nothing is pre-made. Our chicken comes in fresh every day or 2 days, and there's really not a product we've found out there like it.
Whether you come in to take out or decide to dine in, Ryan takes pride in how you'll be welcomed.
I feel that the customers really enjoy our atmosphere. We are a laid-back craft beer bar with great, simple food. It really appeals to so many different age groups.
They continue to grow and expand.
We have definitely gone over about 3 different facelifts in the past 4 years. We've built a second bar and full-service restaurant that we use as a private room for private events, birthdays, corporate meetings. That's actually the room we're in now. We do different pregame shows for the Philadelphia Eagles when they play their away games. We promote different holidays as International Stout Day, which is coming up.
Fingers, Wings, and Other Things is located right between Plymouth Meeting and Conshohocken on Ridge Avenue.
We love our location. We are right in the mix. There's so many bars and restaurants around us. It just brings an influx of people to the area. We get more exposure, and the more exposure we can get, the better it is for everybody.
So this is definitely a place that you need to check out. It's located right on the intersection of Ridge and Butler Pike. For What's Brewing, I'm Sierra Guenst.
Well, I'm always such a fan of the ever-changing selection of drafts at Finger Wings and Other Things.
And I'm a fan of wings, so there you go. Coming up, we're going to talk to the owner of this here place, Round Guys Brewing, find out what's going on here and what's going on around the area, and newsy notes right here on What's Brewing. Welcome back to What's Brewing with Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow. We're filming today at Round Guys Brewing in Lansdale. They also have one in Glenside. And the founder, owner, head brewer, chief bottle washer, all is Scott Rudich. Scott, nice to be here. Thanks for having us. What am I drinking here, by the way?
This is Liquid Swords. It is our Imperial IPA.
Where's the name come from?
It is a Wu-Tang Clan reference. GZA did a song called Liquid Swords. All of our beers, except for Lansdale Lager and Glenside Pale Ale and the Berliner, have some musical reference. It's either lyrics, a band name, an album name. It just got a lot easier than doing like hot puns or inside jokes or like, frat boy humor.
So you've been brewing here for, 7 years, 6 years now? But you didn't start out as a brewer. You're self-trained, but you have a background that would seem to be somewhat related to beer making. You were in the pharmaceutics world, correct?
Yes. I'd gotten a phone call from the other founding member, and he said, we should start a band or open a brewery. And I said, I can't play any instruments. So I bought a homebrew kit, always with the concept that I was going to be opening a brewery. It was never like 10 years of a homebrew.
Wow, that's really different. Yeah, most people it kind of evolves. You had the goal from the start.
Well, I wanted to get into business. I had my first job out of college. My first real job out of college was a headhunter, and I really liked I was in charge of my own destiny, and I worked in a couple small companies. And then I went to work for Merck, made vaccines, and I really didn't like corporate America very well. So this is a natural outgrowth. I had an entrepreneurial spirit and love beer. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a round guy, so love beer.
I remember when you weren't, Scott. So, you got into brewing. You're self-trained. You did not go the professional route. Would you recommend that to other new brewers, wannabe brewers, to just train themselves, or do you recommend going to school?
I mean, I think you need a basic understanding of science. There's a larger group of training of finance, operations. How do you treat people to make consistent beer? Because that's always the thing. Like, it's great if you keep making all these one-offs, but eventually people want the same beer over and over again.
So is there a craft beer bubble, do you think?
I don't think there's necessarily going to be a craft beer bubble. What I see happening is a lot of the traditional beer bars that you remember from early on, like with Philly Beer Week. I think that's more where the bubble is, because you used to go to like one place to go see, like if you were in the Northeast, you would go to Grey Lodge. But now you can get craft beer everywhere. So there used to be little areas where you had those enclaves. I think that's the unfortunate part, is some of the the bad breweries, or the breweries that aren't doing well, that aren't working with their communities, they're gonna peter out. But I think it's more the taverns that are running into problems.
So you got a lot going on here. You got 16 different beers on tap by what I count up here on your menu, right? What do you think? It's been IPAs now for a couple of years. Sours obviously have moved up in popularity. What do you think's the next big thing?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say IPAs.
Okay with Joe, you know that's okay with me.
But, I mean,
Still my favorites.
Dominic from Freewell about 2 years ago said IPA is the new macro beer. So people would go in, they'd order a Bud, they'd order Miller Coors. Now they go and say, I'll have an IPA.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going anywhere. But if you can start focusing on one or two styles, I think that's ultimately where breweries are going to have to be. We can't all make every style and distribute it. I can make a Belgian triple and sell a ton of it here, but if I take it to a bottle shop, it'll sit on a shelf.
That's so weird to me, because Belgian triples used to be the it beer, but
Yeah.
well, that's the way things change.
All right, well, listen, thanks for having us today. We appreciate really enjoying our time around, guys. Stick around, because we're going to do some newsy notes right now. And Joe, you open up with really kind of very disturbing news involving global warming and how it impacts the thing we love.
Right. For the second time in 3 or 4 episodes, we've addressed global warming, and this time it's due to a report out that was published in the scientific journal Nature Plants, which I know you're a subscriber.
I never miss an episode.
They are predicting a doubling in the price of beer in the near future, or as global warming continues, specifically because of the impact of heat on barley crops. It's going to be harder to grow it. So,
As if we needed more bad impact from global warming, there is yet another one. That is very disturbing.
Scott, you must have seen some. You've probably seen prices increase a good bit in some of your ingredients in the few years that you've been brewing.
Yeah, we have. We've been looking at the fact that at some point we'd have to contract malt, like we used to have to contract hops during the hop crisis. And a lot of the barley they say is most at risk is the barley that the bigger brewers are using. That the craft barley crop seems to be in a good position at this point.
All right.
On another upbeat
Yes,
side
please.
of things, I just wanted to report that our viewers should be looking out for a new collaboration beer that's coming out in early November called Friendsgiving. A beer to take to a dinner with your friends at Thanksgiving time.
If you have no family.
Except if you have no family.
Seems kind of sad.
So hey, friends, can share, and they've
Yeah.
it's a beer made. It's a hazy IPA, Friendsgiving hazy IPA made by Double Nickel, Cape May and Tonewood over in Jersey, and Urban Village in Philadelphia.
Nice, very nice. Well, listen, Scott Rudish, thank you for having us at Round Guys Brewing. We had a great time.
Yeah, I did too.
Appreciate it. Enjoyed your beer, and remember, it may go back to 1974, but once upon a time, the Flyers were #1. Yes, this is older than most of our viewers. He's Joe Sixpack. I'm Glenn Macnow. We'll look forward to seeing you next week on What's Brewing.
What's Brewing? Brought to you in part by Monco Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tours and Board. Download the app. Partial funding provided through a grant from the Pennsylvania Malt and Beverage Industry Board.